Hey guys, welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. Today I'm covering Below Deck Med Reunion Part 2. What a letdown. A letdown of a season, a letdown of a reunion. But we're going to make it fun and we're going to talk about it, and I want to hear your thoughts on what the heck we just watched. Hey guys, I just want to take a second and say if you're enjoying this show, please check out my Patreon. Go to patreon.com, search Real Housewives Recaps, or check the comments below and I'll put a link. And for $1 a week, you can support my show and get 4 bonus episodes per month. I'm covering Scary Island, like the greatest season of Real Housewives of New York. So check it out. Thanks so much. Okay, so I wrote down notes on every question asked, every response, and I'm looking back at my notes, and I don't know, I could go question by question if you guys want. Definitely leave me comments and I'll talk about any of them. But I'd rather just give an overview of what I thought of the whole recap. So let's get into that, because I really am dying to know what you guys thought about it, and I want to talk about it a little bit. But I definitely am trying to stay upbeat. I have a lot of comments saying that they're done with the show after this season. I don't think I'm that person. I know I'm not. I hated the season. I hope to God they recast the captain and Malia. It sounds like I'm hearing rumors that they're not. But am I done with the series? No, I'll probably be back and just hope for more entertainment. I just feel a huge letdown this season. This show in the past has been a lot of fun to watch. I guess the regular season, not Med, that's starting up in a few weeks, traditionally has been more entertaining and intense, but I just have a soft spot for Med because I just think it's a lot of fun. I like the crew, I like the international crew a little bit better, and I don't know, I've had a soft spot for this show, but yeah, this season sucked. I don't know what they were thinking on a lot of the choices that they made. So let's talk about it. I'm going to kick it off with this robot right here because I want to talk about her and then I want to move on and never talk about her again. So it's no secret I've not been a fan of Hannah's in the past. Okay. However, what this little robot did and what that captain did, I use captain in quotations, is so wrong. And this would have been her chance to undig her heels and say, listen, I followed the rules fine, but I still handled it in the wrong way, or I messed up, something like that, something to show her human side. But instead, what we got was her over and over trying to interrupt and prove herself. And she came across, I just keep saying robot. She's a robot. She's robotic. She came across as unfeeling and unfriendly. And I just think the points they chose, and I say they, her and Captain Sandy, the points that they chose to dig their heels in about, it just seemed like a convenient excuse. They laughed off the idea that they had this plan to get rid of the chef and to get rid of Hannah. I don't laugh that off. I actually do think that they've had conversations on the side, and I think Malia controls things and Captain Sandy follows her around, has a little crush on her, something. And Malia comes up with these ideas and executes them. And this was her shot to explain herself a little better, maybe to let us into her head to what she was thinking on all this. But instead, she just firmly leaned against these rules. And I say it like that. I understand there have to be rules, but where were these rules last season when Travis, remember Travis was Jack's friend, the deckhand that I think tried to hit on Hannah, but it didn't work out. Travis had a severe drinking problem by his own admission. He would get blackout drunk, and the captain knew about it, and yet he was allowed to stay. So where were the rules there? I put that more on the captain than Malia. That's not Malia's fault, but it's just, it's convenient. That's all I'll say. I feel like Malia and the captain have had these rehearsals to get ready to what they're going to say. They're exactly on the same page, reciting word for word maritime law. And it just came across as so unlikable and so unfriendly and so taking in any kind of human element. And it just really turned me off. So no, I do not like Malia. As for the captain, same thing. She let fame go to her head this season. I feel like she was hanging out in the crew mess, or the galley, excuse me, to get more screen time for herself. I just got this sense she was more full of herself this season. It was all about her. And same thing I had criticized on Malia, I criticized on Captain. It was her job to, if she's going to always stick by the book, then stick by the book. But we've seen time and time again, she picks a favorite, Joao, Travis, Malia, and she lets them do what they want. That's fine, but nobody else can. And that's annoying. You don't want that in a boss. That's not a good leader. So I'm over Captain Sandy. I'll tell you what really bothered me too this episode is every time Robot Malia would speak or recite the lines that she had memorized, look at Captain Sandy's face. There was no hiding the joy in her face that her prize pupil, her prize whatever, show pony, was saying the things that she wanted her to say and that they were on the same team, and she couldn't hide the elation. And that really bothered me because she can't even fake that she's not playing favorites with with Malia in this case. And it's just such bullshit. Speaking of bullshit, we have this one right here. Okay. All this stuff I just said about Malia and Captain are terrible. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, even though I did not like them, Jess probably actually bothered me the most this reunion. She did that thing that you can't do when you're on reality TV. She's like exposing everything on reality TV until it's time for the reunion. So we finally are ridding ourselves of the Rob and Jess mess, okay? And she's been like alluding to all these terrible things that Rob has done, and believe me, I'm not a Rob fan. I think he does gaslight, and I think he is a MFer, but instead of filling us in onto what actually happened, she does that thing like, I'm not going to say. It reminds me of, stick with me here, did you guys ever watch The Bachelor? Did you ever see Juan Pablo's season? Oh my God. It made me quit watching after that. But Juan Pablo did the same thing. He did the whole season. He let the whole season play out. We watched begrudgingly. And then at the very end, where you get some sort of resolution or payoff for sticking with a shitty show, instead of spilling the information, she just did this thing, this like play coy thing where she's like, he knows what he did. I'm not going to spell it all out. You guys would firmly be on my team if you knew what he did, but I'm not going to tell you. Like bullshit like that. Like, let us make up our own minds. Just tell us what the heck happened. And it's not even that I'm not interested in Rob and Jess, but my God, you subjected us to a show all season long. We finally get to the end and nothing. Just nothing. Just no more information except for, if I told you you'd be on my side, well then fucking tell us. What are we doing here? Come on, why are you on the show? She really got on my nerves this episode. I mean, she has all season, but she calls everybody else, by the way, she calls them all out saying, you guys are playing the victim, my God, when they were talking about Hannah and the possible drugs thing, which we'll get to. But, hello, look in a mirror. That's all you've done. It's poor you. Rob's a jerk. Poor you. Poor you. You know, it's so ridiculous. And she's even doing it here. Like, oh, you guys will be in my camp if you only knew. But I'm not going to tell you whatever mysterious information that is non-existent. Even in the earlier parts of this reunion, when they were talking about the drugs and she would try to interject and somebody would cut her off and say something like, well, no, that's not what happened. That's not right. You know, whatever it was. She'd say, oh, okay, I just won't talk then. Oh, okay, I won't talk. Again, playing a victim. Like, oh, you poor thing. You can't even talk. No, you just shouldn't be talking. Just shut up and let everybody else talk for a minute. You have a lot to say on a lot, and I'm just not interested in hearing it. Except for the one topic I'm interested in, you won't spill. So, no, thank you. It was funny when Captain Dickhead put her in her place and said, read your contract. She's like, how was I supposed to know? Read your contract. How are you not reading a contract? I understand maybe if it's every fine line of every legal jargon, but that sounds like it's a pretty big deal. Read your contract. Okay, let's move on to Hannah. So, it's no secret I'm not a huge Hannah fan. I feel like they did her very dirty this season, and that sucks. That's a shitty way to go out. So, for that, I do give her credit. I mean, she handled herself well, I thought, on this reunion. To be honest, I don't believe her necessarily. I mean, okay, I do believe the Valium thing. I've heard that the prescription's on the box. Fine. I have no problem with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And she explained it beautifully about anxiety. And if you have anxiety, it brings you down to a normal level, so you are functioning. Fine. Great. But the pen, okay. She's trying to say that it might be a THC pen, but she uses a CBD pen. Come on. Like, girl, take your THC and enjoy it, but don't lie about it. So, I don't know. She showed a note proving that she did have a prescription for it. Again, that's not really my issue. I think we spent a long time on the drugs, and that's silly. It doesn't bother me personally, but I'm not on the boat, so what do I know? But the part about Hannah that bugged me was just, she was over the season. She was pretending like she wasn't, but we all know she was. And I guess I shouldn't even say it bugs me. I'm glad she gets to move on to a new chapter of her life, and I wish her nothing but the best. So let's move on from Hannah. So let's move on to Tom. Tom, he's such a little bitch. Oh, God. Okay, so he is doing that thing where he's like acting like it was not as big of a deal as it was. But then in the moment we saw him flipping out. And then he tries to calmly explain it now. Fine. I get it. Chefs are temperamental. Okay. Sounds like his food was amazing. But I have no use for Tom. To me, he's not even like a fun temperamental chef like Ben was. I love Ben. I just think he's the funniest guy. I enjoyed when he was the chef on the regular show and on Med. Like, that dude can have some freakouts, but he can also have some fun moments when he'd go out and get drunk or hang out with the gang. I just don't think Tom had that. I think his personality sucks when he's hostile or when he's not. We saw him being not only angry, we saw him being a dickhead to Aisha and everybody else, and even the captain, and no thank you, Tom. Now, what is interesting is we know that they've, after this show, broken up. So what's weird, though, is Malia played it off like, and maybe I just misinterpreted, but I thought it was going to be this huge surprise that he just broke up with her, or she found out he was cheating and she left him. Well, even here on the reunion, things were weird. When they were asked about the relationship and following each other on Instagram and stuff like that, and they were still admitting that they were kind of on again, off again. He finally explains it as, all the months away traveling. But then when Andy asked him about being monogamous, he's like, yeah, we're monogamous. Huh, weird. I couldn't pinpoint what was going on there, except for he's a wanker and she's a robot. So I don't know. I guess they just didn't work out. Who knows? Who cares? Let's go on to Aisha. I never say her name right, but you know what I mean. Her resolution was awful. She must be in a remote area with really shitty internet. So this was the best picture I could get of her. But yeah, I still love her. I'm glad she's moved on. It sounds like she was ready to do that. She's got a boyfriend. She's happy. Only interesting part to come out was Jess accusing Rob and Aisha of having an inappropriate relationship. And I actually really liked Aisha's answers. She kept saying it didn't even register with her if she did or didn't touch his rear end when they were taking a photo, because she just doesn't, she's not interested in him. So it just, I don't know. I thought she did great. I really like her. I'm pro Aisha. It does sound like, we'll talk about Rob, but it does sound like he was flirting with her a little bit. But it also sounds like Jess is a creep who was going through his DMs. All right, let's talk about Rob Zombie. He was useless. He was as useless on this reunion as he was on the show. You talk about no personality. Like, this smile was the most personality he gave the entire time. He laid his head down at one point, and he just was not into this at all. He's still doing that deep stoicism thing that he thinks it makes him seem deep. I think he seems like just a toolbox. But, yeah, so it sounds like he was flirting with Aisha. He kept saying it was a brother-sister thing, and he finally was like, you know what, fuck it. Sure, I was. And I don't know, he probably was. I don't doubt that. I think he knows exactly what he's doing. He's trying to hook up with any chick he can. He gives them his full attention when he likes them, and then he moves on, and it makes people like Jess crazy. So I get that. I do, but I don't know. I still think Jess is crazy, but I think they're pretty perfect for each other, actually, because they can live in their own little psychotic hell. But it does sound like he was flirting. I'm not really shocked by that. We saw him flirting with that primary, that Hannah, I think her name was. So I'm not really shocked by any of it, truthfully. Let's talk about Andy. Andy was getting so pissed and frustrated. He was trying to get words in. They were all arguing with each other, talking over each other. And he said, "Let me get in here. Let me get in here." He actually growled at one point, which was so funny. And then he ends up putting his head down because he just can't take it anymore. So it was just funny to see him react that strongly to all this. All right, let's talk about Bugsy. There's really not much to say about her this episode. I actually did find her, for the first time, I got it a little bit. I did find her a little annoying when they were talking about the drugs and she was trying to interject, but she really doesn't bother me on the show. She's fine. I like her enthusiasm, and, you know, I don't think it was her fault that she was brought in as chief stew. I think it was Captain Dillweed, and it was a plan all along. But, yeah, I don't really have too much to say about Bugsy. I do feel like she led Alex on, and I don't think that's very cool, but I don't know. Just get rid of those clips, and she's okay. Speaking of Alex, oh, Alex, you're so cute. I just think he's the cutest guy, and I have such a crush on him, and I'm sorry to see him go, but he just seemed like a nice guy. There's really not anything to say. He looked really bored this part of the reunion. It was funny to see him, like, just look like this, or he'd have a sip of wine, and really didn't have too much to add. So, you guys, I have talked for 20 minutes about this shit show. I want to know your thoughts. Tell me in the comments, did you think somebody did a great job at this reunion? Do you think somebody failed spectacularly? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I welcome it all. Just let me know. I'm very curious. And will you be continuing to watch the show after this? Has this ruined it for you? What do you think? Leave me comments. Let me know. Love reading them all. I try to respond to them all. Sometimes I miss them, but I do my best, and I appreciate every single one of them. And you can follow me on here. You can follow me on Twitter at Real Recaps. I'm doing all kinds of recaps right now, so check them all out. Stick with me. Stay tuned. I'm really, really trying to put out different kinds of content. I will be doing Below Deck regular season, which I believe starts in mid-November. So if you're just here for Below Deck, check that back out. And thank you guys for everything. I so appreciate it. And I hope you have a fantastic week. Bye-bye.